but has yet to win another one. Could this maybe be his, chance to notch the first other internationals on his record?
Yeah, somewhere outside of NA. It's funny, Stéphane is from France, but it is the North American International Championships where he has found the most success.
Yeah, it really, really is. And interestingly enough, I think this year with Azul winning was actually the first time someone from North America actually won the NAOC, correct me if I'm wrong, because the previous years has been run by Tord and then Stéphane and then now Azul.
Yep, that would be right. Now, as we see, these players are drawing the opening hands. The Lugia mirror match. So we've talked to players throughout the course of the weekend about different strategies, different ways you can try to come out on top in this mirror match. And pretty much everyone's response instantly is win the coin flip, right? Going first is definitely a huge advantage, but it's not really the nail in the coffin, so to say. It's not the only way that you win the game by going first. There's plenty of play, plenty of different things you can do when you go second. Any strategies either of these players think they should try to employ here, do you think, Freya?
Well, I mean, I think part of it goes back to what Tord was saying, right? It kind of goes into building your deck, right? Because if you go first, but you miss your first unset, but it doesn't matter. What's important is that when you do go first, you can capitalize it as much as possible and make yourself the most likely to be able to set up effectively. So I think a lot of it is going to go into the consistency that you're able to exhibit with your deck building.
We see these prizes going out. Nothing too bad from Stéphane. A Lugia V-Star, maybe not the best. A couple of energy cards could be awkward. Nothing on Michelle's side that seemed too bad either.
No, it seems very workable for both sides here. So we see now that both players are pretty much set up and ready to go. Just going to wait for that final call for us to kick off this 9th and final round of Swiss. Here, it's been a long day, and there's a thumbs up. So there we go. There's the handshake fist bump.
They got it figured out, and we're going to get this game figured out. Down to the table we go. Who won the flip? Who is going first? It looks like it will be Stéphane on the first move. Looking through that hand, did start the Lugia V. An excellent place. Also does have that Evolution Incense. If there's a way to discard a card from the hand, could get an Archeops down into the discard pile right away.
I'm sure that's what he would absolutely love to do if possible, but it's kind of hard to see from the rest of his hand if he has the availability to do that. We're going to play that Evolution Incense regardless straight away. Going to enable him to look through his deck, see where he has access to and where he doesn't. We do see that Aurora Energy in hand, though.
Yep, that is a great way to get that Archeops down in the discard pile right now, right off the bat. Now, you may be wondering, why would Stéphane care about getting Archeops in the discard pile right now? Of course, he can't evolve. He can't use that Summoning Star, V-Star power here on turn 1. And the main reason would be because of the potential for Micchelle to play a Marnie, right? Disrupt this hand. You want to try, if you have the opportunity to, in the early turns, to get an Archeops down in the discard pile ASAP.
Yeah, it's a very wise thing to do. Like, the earlier you can get your Archeopses in the discard pile set up, the better, because, yeah, it means that you're protected against any disruption that your opponent might have, either from a Marnie or, from something. I'm not sure how else you can disrupt turn 1, but you get the basic idea.
Stéphane's going to take a moment here, check the prize cards. This is something we see all of the top players doing, just trying to figure out exactly what they have available to them. And it's extremely important in a deck like Lugia.
Yes, because you play so many of these one-off tech attackers, you play, so many of these different energy counts. You need to keep track of all of them, make sure that you know that if you're having a game plan in mind to attack with a certain thing, that you have the energies to attack with that thing when you need to. So, yeah, very important indeed.
And Stéphane actually even has an Ultra Ball, so we could see 2 Archeops hitting the discard pile on turn 1.
Oh, absolutely. Ultra Ball discarding the Archeops and then something. Grab another Archeops, Aurora Energy, discard the other one. Seems pretty solid to me.
We'll see if that's what Stéphane wants to go for. Could also grab another basic here, maybe prep an Oranguru, put a card on top just in case you get Marnie. That is also something we could see Stéphane want to go for.
I think a lot of it depends on what the rest of Stéphane's hand looks like, but It does look like that's what, he's going for it.
Seems good to me.
Archeops coming out from the deck. Meanwhile, Micchelle looking through to see how he can answer. Actually, Michele's hand doesn't look too amazing.
And has started the Drapion V as well, which is a tech for the Mew matchup. Not going to be useful here against Lugia.
Not at all, but meanwhile, Stéphane, attaching the Aurora, discarding the Archeops, and then does just announce pass after that. And now it's back on, not back on, for the first time it's on to Micchelle, starting with the Evolution Incense. Look through his own deck, see what he has access to.
Yep, take a look, see if we can find something. I didn't notice what the top deck was. I don't think there was a supporter in the hand previous to the draw, so I'm sure they're definitely going to be looking for, I think, a Marnie, just with how kind of awkward that hand looked. Seemed like it would be pretty decent.
Yeah, Marnie, just to get some of those not-so-useful cards out of the hand immediately. In the meantime, doing exactly as Stéphane did, looking through to see what is prized and what isn't. After that, does decide to go for that Archeops. Got to imagine there's a way to discard it if that's what he's going for.
There is the Aurora Energy in hand as an option. If we're putting Choice Belts and energies on Drapion, you just know that this is not a great start.
Oh dear, and actually, wait. From looking at the rest of the hand, I think there's actually really not much going.
There's a Crobat. Okay, so that's really that's what we're doing here. We're trying to thin the hand down as much as possible. Crobat and Prey at this point. Hope that we can find more pieces.
Yeah, it looks like there's a discussion already. Oh yeah, I think.
Make sure we shuffle off of the search from the evolution instance for sure. Heads up, Stéphane was right on that. He was definitely on top of that, making sure that that shuffle was going to happen.
Perhaps a future in being a Pokemon professor, and for Stéphane, you never know. That kind of keen eye.
I think he's still definitely in the thick of his playing career, but maybe in the future. Yeah.
I mean, you can always do both, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you're winning internationals, though, it's kind of hard to take a step back.
Yeah, it's true. Now, so here goes the Dark Asset just for free cards. Let's see, free cards.
Oh, and that's not much help. Okay, I guess Luminion is okay. Can at least fetch maybe a Research. There is also the draw of the Evolution Incense. This can put another Archeops into the hand, which subsequently could go to the discard pile.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most unworkable sort of that Micchelle has been presented with so far. And does decide to go for that Archeops, which does lead me to think that, this Luminion is going to find either Professor's Research, or if Micchelle wants to preserve some of the energy in hand, could maybe go for a Serena instead.
Yeah, Serena could be a good option, this new card from Silver Tempest, which works both as a gusting option and also a draw support potential. Looks like Micchelle is like, nope, not worried about it. Let's just ditch this hand. I need to see 7 new ones because there's still something missing over on this side of the field. Yeah, there is no Lugia currently out, and that is very, very important. And I think getting a Lugia down is more important than maybe preserving a couple of energy that you have play 16 of anyway. Yeah, so not too big of a deal to lose them, and certainly would love to find a Lugia. And there's so many outs to Lugia, right? Of course, the actual copies of the card you play itself, there's 4 copies in this list. You've got the 4 Quick Balls as well, multiple Ultra Balls. Plenty of ways in order to get this into play. Research thinning a bunch of good cards out of the deck, things you want the discard pile. 3 Archeops now down in the discard. It's a pretty ideal. Not ideal to discard 2 energy, but I mean, it could be a lot worse. It could be 5 in hand, as we've seen a couple of times over the course of the tournament today. And there's a Lugia and a Quick Ball there. Wonderful. So that's going to be exactly what Micchelle wanted to see. Putting down that Lugia, going to be able to go for that Summoning Star next turn. And now it's going to be on Stéphane to see if Stéphane can do the ideal turn 1 setup and rather turn 2 setup and really capitalize on going first, the way that, as so many people have said, is so key to winning the Lugia mirror. Now, this is a little awkward. There is going to be a Lugia V-Star hitting the discard pile. And if I'm remembering right, I do think Micchelle did prize a Lugia. So that could make things a little interesting. If you're wanting to attack with 2, you want to make sure you can find the 2 different V-Stars. One is in the prize cards right now. Yeah, but it comes from a position of not wanting to fall victim to, a gusting KO on your own Lugia. You really need to get 2 down just to really hedge your bets and make sure that you can do your own Summoning Star next turn. So I understand where it comes from, and maybe there just wasn't a better thing to discard in Michelle's hand. Yeah, and that's the main question I had is there something better we could have lost? And the answer seems for now to be no, as the pass does come out. Send it back over to Stéphane, who's just going to start with a Marnie. Okay, that's not too strong. I mean, there's a potential risk here. If Stéphane doesn't find anything, maybe Micchelle just takes this game straight away. At a minimum, Stéphane just wants to find the Lugia V-Star here. Yes. So plenty of outs to it. The Ultra Balls, the Evolution Incense, of course. Let's see if he can find one off 5 cards. I think, yes. Just draws it straight up. So, yeah, there it is. Lugia V-Star, Summoning Star gets fired off. 2 Archeops hit the bench. Yeah, Stéphane is now absolutely good to go. Would love to try to get another attacker into play, potentially. Stéphane's in one of these interesting spots where in this mirror match, since you've gone first, you've got the first Lugia V-Star up, you actually kind of don't want a second Lugia V-Star. You want to try to lean into your other different attackers. Yeah, very much so. I mean, this first Lugia obviously going to put in some work. Primal Turbo is going to be able to come in and attach to this Lugia so that you can just take a KO on this Drapion and take the first 2 prizes of the game, which of course is not bad at all. So now go for the Primal Turbo to get, charge up Lugia. This Drapion doesn't have a crazy huge amount of HP, so it's going to be pretty easy to KO with the Lugia V-Star currently. And I think Stéphane's probably just deciding what the best combination of energy to attach to this Lugia is to make sure that he's not overcommitting, but at the same time is able to still KO the Drapion. V-Guard energy seems like one you definitely want to grab. Try to make your Lugia as difficult as possible for your opponent to KO.
Absolutely, and the V-Guard coming to play so many times over the course of this tournament. It's been that difference in that math fixer or like math ruiner for your opponent in terms of making sure that an opposing Lugia or something else can or can't get the KO.
And Capture Energy is a great way to get next turn's attacker set up and ready to go.
It's really interesting to see what he goes for here, though. So we see, like you mentioned, doesn't necessarily want to go for another Lugia, but there's plenty of different attacking options you could go for here. Maybe thinking about that Dunsparce just for a little bit of protection against the potential, lightning weakness shenanigans.
Yeah, there could be the amazing Raikou. We've seen that in so many players' decks this weekend, of course, with a Choice Belt could get the one-hit knockout on a Lugia V-Star.
I mean, that's...
Prepping for the worst-case scenario is
Yeah.
definitely, you don't know anything about your opponent's deck. So many people are playing the Raikou. Definitely seems like a reasonable play from Stéphane.
Yeah, it really does. Now, interestingly enough, we actually do see the other Lugia does go down, so maybe Stéphane thinking, actually, there's nothing better for me to attack with right now. I do just want to get the second Lugia down, and that's probably going to work out best for me.
And still by being the player who's going first, who's being the aggressor, who's taking the first 2 prize KO, this is absolutely fine. It does open up a target for Micchelle to find something to gust that up and try to knock it out. It's a little easier to get through than this active Lugia with the V-Guard, right?
Yes, and of course that's why these Lugia lists play the V-Guard energies, just to make that math so annoying, and force you to find more powerful colorless energies, find choice belts, find all these damage modifiers that can actually get you there. You see Stéphane just throwing 2 powerful colorless onto the bench Lugia, getting that one ready to go for next turn as well. But there's definitely already enough on this wanting to KO the Drapion, and that's the main thing here.
Powerful Colorless Energy I found is one of the most important resources with the Lugia deck, because that's just how you're boosting your damage, how you're getting to this 280 number you need to in order to knock out opposing V-Star Pokemon. So it could be a little risky to put 2 of them onto a V that is susceptible to being bossed and KO'd.
Yeah, potentially. I guess maybe just preparing in advance for wanting to maybe next turn be able to just do 1 Primal Turbo to power it up, and then power up something else with the second Primal Turbo, just to really keep that sort of chain of threats going. But in the meantime, for Micchelle, we see there the Lugia V-Star coming out. So yeah, that's going to be another Summoning Star. And pretty much both sides are getting their ideal setups with like 2 Archeopses, which is what we like to see. Of course, Stéphane does have that tempo advantage of having gone first, but Micchelle is not out of this at all.
Far from it, indeed. So much things can happen in the game of the Pokemon TCG. So many things can go right, and so many things can go wrong. So Micchelle is going to be needing to play to some of those outs and hope that Stéphane maybe just gets a little unlucky in a spot. At this point, Stéphane is very well set up. 2 Archeops, Lugia already ready to go, just needing 1 more V-Star to kind of really feel confident and rolling.
Yeah, and then, of course, even if this first Lugia V-Star goes down, Stéphane's still very ahead on tempo. We see that probably is what's going to happen, of course, with the Primal Turbos, the first one being used and the second one now, that is almost certainly going to be the knockout here. As long as Micchelle can find a choice spell, that's going to be like the key differentiators to get through that V-Guard energy.
We would need 4 double turbos, I believe, as well. So we need all 4 double turbos and the choice belt. So that's a pretty big commitment. So Micchelle might just think that's not quite worth it and just kind of settle for the 2-hit knockout, and try to withstand Stéphane's own hit since you've got your own V-Guard energy now.
Yeah, but yeah, potentially. I mean, having the V-Guard yourself definitely does help with that. We see actually only opting to attach 1 energy off of the final Primal Turbo because that's remaining powerful colors is actually in the hand.
Yes.
But does Micchelle have a way to dig? Well, yes, it does have the Serena. Maybe just going to go for the choice belt here.
Yep, we'll discard and draw a couple of cards. Going to be 5 filled up in the hand.
The full 5 from Serena. Does Micchelle hit the choice belt?
It does just need the choice belt now. It doesn't need the last double turbo. Excuse me, powerful colorless.
I mean, the last powerful colorless wouldn't even be enough because that would be 10 short.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't need all 4 and the belt. Just needs 3 and the belt. But it does look like the belt was missed here.
Oof.
And that is going to be so close to the KO. That V-Guard energy, the brand new special energy card from Silver Tempest, showing exactly why players are choosing to play it in their Lugia deck for this exact situation. Yeah,
and that's incredibly rough for Micchelle. Like, if there was a choice belt found, that would have been a very big opportunity for Micchelle to keep up with the tempo with knockouts and put himself in a really good position as it stands currently. Just that little bit short of the knockout, and now Stéphane was able to take a 2-prize knockout and not get knocked out himself, which is, if you're Stéphane, you've got to be smiling about that.
And Stéphane does not even need to knock out a Lugia V-Star the rest of this game.
No.
We could theoretically see a world where Boss's Orders and Serena are played in back-to-back turns to close this one out.
Yeah, that's absolutely a strategy you can take with this deck. Once you've got those Lugia set up, you can just pick off easy prizes on the bench, and that is a game plan that you go with in a lot of different matchups because it's just so easy for the deck to do.
Now that Primal Turbo will fetch 2 energies from the deck. Let's see where they go. Maybe loading up the Lugia V-Star on the bench, trying to make it ready to begin attacking as well.
And this is what we were saying earlier about building up that chain of attackers. If it comes to a point where you think, I just want to keep chaining Lugias over and over again, maybe that's just what you focus on, and maybe that's actually just completely okay. And interestingly enough, now Stéphane's in the same position Micchelle was. 3 powerful colorless on. If Stéphane can find a choice belt, that's at that point you got to think it's almost game, right?
Yes, that would be such a huge lead for Stéphane. Would also move this damaged Lugia to the bench, which would also be extremely strong.
So here it is now. What the interesting thing is going to be, what does Stéphane have to try and dig for this here?
Is there a Serena in hand? It looks like there is, yeah.
Oh, but no, instead, just as mentioned, going for that gusting strategy. I like this a lot.
Yes, very much so. And now you have this Lugia on the bench that only needs a belt to get through the Lugia V-Star with the V-Guard energy on it. So Stéphane has multiple ways to win the game next turn. He only has 2 prize cards remaining. He can either knock out this active with a choice belt on the Lugia V-Star on the bench, or find Boss's Orders or Serena to close it out. Yeah,
it's also setting up a checkmate scenario, right? You're 4 prizes ahead. You have 2 things that can, take easy knockouts on, whatever the case might be. It's the door is definitely closing on Micchelle. He needs to find some kind of response where possible, but I think it's going to be very, very hard to do so.
Does not look like there is a Raikou Amazing Rare in this deck. Radiant Charizard may be the best attacking option here, just as a 1 prize option. Try to take the KO with something that is not the Lugia V-Star, so that it's as difficult as possible for Stéphane to win the game on the last turn.
Yeah, and of course, you're going to do all you can to make that possible, but it is going to be very, very hard. There aren't too many disruption options, really, that Micchelle has to stop Stéphane from taking those last 2 prizes. Reduce the Primal Turbo, going to be able to charge up. Maybe he's going to focus on a single prize stacker just so that Stéphane does have to be forced to have the gust in order to win.
Yep.
But it's still very, very, very bad news.
Stéphane is down to just 2 prize cards, so that means that Radiant Charizard can attack for just this 1 energy, thanks to that Excited Heart ability. So this is the only energy needed in order to pull off this powerful Combustion Blast, doing more than enough to KO this Lugia with just 30 HP remaining on it.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit of an over knockout. We could say just doing way, way, way too much more than needed. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do.
Yep, that's where we are, and that's what's going to need to happen. It is another Primal Turbo. Going to set up an energy onto the Archeops. That could be a potential attacker. That's another way you could actually, attack into this active Lugia this turn if you wanted.
Yeah, that's true. Archeops, of course, does have that Speed Wing attack. Just does for free color energy, 120 damage. That even with the reduction from the double turbo, that's still more than enough to KO this Lugia V-Star. So that could be an option as well.
Attached for turn of the double turbo, I imagine we'll just be seeing that get retreated off, and Archeops will come up and be the attacker here.
So yeah, here it is, bringing up Speed Wing for 100, knocking out the Lugia, and now it's going to come down to, does Stéphane have either the Serena or Boss's Orders to bring up anything basically and knock it out for the last 2 prizes?
Yep, Serena or Boss's Orders. This now does take away that choice belt as the easy win con. That amazing rare Eviltal. But yeah, here we go. There is the Lumineon. Boss's Orders bringing up either the Lumineon or Crobat on the other side, and Stéphane goes up 1-0 here in this win and in round.
And showing the real advantage of both going first and just being able to set up as consistently as possible. Stéphane able to find all the pieces to take knockout turn after turn after turn and really just win that game in very, very quick fashion.
Yep, excellent game. Just absolutely showing off exactly what this deck has the capability of doing when going first. Sometimes you have a little slow setup. We've seen from players on these stream games, sometimes they only get 1 Archeops in the discard pile on turn 1, and then they're kind of struggling on turn 2 since their opponent was able to play a supporter. They're able to get a few more things going. But here in this spot now, Stéphane was able to just really set up exactly how he needed to. Over on Michelle's side, it's kind of tough. You set up pretty decently, did miss that 1 choice belt. You got to wonder if this game could have looked a little different if Micchelle had found the choice belt in order to get the KO onto the Lugia V-Star. But regardless, it was not found off the Serena, so we're going to game 2.
I mean, that's kind of what he needs to at least have a chance, right? That's the thing. The fact that he didn't even find that just meant that, you know, Stéphane was already ahead and then was given the opportunity to get even further ahead when he was already in the lead tempo-wise. So, yeah, just missing that just meant that Micchelle just barely even had a chance.
Got to imagine Micchelle will choose to go first in this next game. We've talked about how it is such an advantage, so that is definitely the good thing for them in this spot. You know, you lost game 1, you're on the winning end, you're against one of the world's best players on the big stage. I'm sure the nerves and the tensions are running high, but the game isn't over until it is over.
Oh, what is this? 2 Lugias and a Lugia V-Star prize for Micchelle. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it does make it harder to find a Lugia V on turn 1. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely going to be a bit awkward.
Yeah, thankfully, Micchelle is playing the 4-free line, not the free line, so it doesn't mean that they only have access to 1 Lugia, thankfully.
Yeah.
But let's see how he starts off here. It does look like he's... Oh, I think he started with a Crobat. Yeah, that looks...
That is definitely not what you want to see. And it seems like Lugia was the top deck. So just 1 card away from starting your best starter, but instead you have to start one of your worst.
Yeah. At least he still has Lugia, right? That's the main thing. If
We're counting our blessings.
Yeah. Because if he didn't have one, then that would be absolute disaster, especially going first. But he does have one, so I think we can breathe a small sigh of relief.
And this is already so much better of a start. You're going first. You get the Lugia down, 2 Archeops already in the discard pile. This is the type of spot where it would be nice to maybe go grab a Crobat, fill your hand up, but there's a problem with that in this game for Micchelle.
Yeah, your Crobat is already out, and they're sitting very pretty, but not really doing much of anything.
No, unfortunately stuck there in the active. But a second Lugia V can be grabbed, so the 2 Lugia V star in the prize, or sorry, the 2 Lugia V in the prize cards, no problem at all.
Nope. Just going to get the 2 that are still in the deck, so great news for Micchelle. Even with that Crobat start, still got to be feeling pretty decent about how things are going. So now it's going to be commitment to the Engie and then pass back to Stéphane.
Now on Stéphane's side, did start the Pumpkaboo. Not a card that is great to have in the active, and it actually does have a kind of chunky 2 retreat. So Pumpkaboo is a little hard to get out of the active. You kind of almost have to commit a double turbo to it.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of your least ideal starters, especially because by starting with it, it means that you don't have access to that Pumpkin Pit ability, which is the whole reason why you want to play it in the first place.
Yeah, and that's super strong against Path to the Peak decks, though I have to say, I mean, I guess we've seen a decent amount of Mew with Path to the Peak, funny enough, but many Lugia decks have foregone the Path to the Peak this weekend, it seems.
Yeah, it seems more playing sort of like, you know, the more colorless focus builds, I guess, that we've seen play before in quite a few online tournaments, but it seems like, yeah, for the International specifically, yeah, the main focus is purely on this Aurora Energy sort of toolbox attacking build.
Stéphane's got that Stoutland V in hand. Not a card that's great in this matchup, but a very good tech for the weekend. I would say we've seen plenty of comfies up on the stage, and that is the main purpose of the Stoutland, as when you take a KO with it as an attacker, you get to take an additional prize card. It only does 40 damage for 3 colorless, but we know how good powerful colorless can be.
Yeah, it's that's all you need, right? It's a 40 when you've got powerful colorless to sort of ramp up even further, and very effective against Lost Box, especially when you notice because it has a lot of these low HP setup Pokemon and even attackers. So very, very strong card for sure.
So Stéphane did only get the 1 Lugia down. This is an opening for Micchelle. Can they find the boss's orders or Serena to bring up this Lugia V and take it out and let themselves be the ones who are the aggressors? Stéphane went second, by the way, and did not play a supporter, did not get an Archeops down, so not a great start.
Yeah, it's well within the realms of possibility for Micchelle to capitalize on this. We do see there the ideal start with or the ideal summoning star with the double Archeops. And that's, you know, it's going to be a matter of, well, the energy is already there, ready to go. Primal Turbo onto the Lugia, and again, but does Micchelle have a boss's orders? Because, or like I said, Serena, because if he does, I don't want to say the game's over, but it might soon be.
Very well could be. I do think there is just 1 single card in hand, and it is the Serena to bring up the Lugia. Oh my gosh. The perfect 2-card combo. Evolution Incense for the Lugia, Serena for the Lugia V on the bench, and a 2-prize KO for Micchelle.
I just had to focus very hard to not spit out my drink just then as that happened. The timing of that was too perfect. My goodness, the last card being the Serena for the knockout. And yeah, that's it. Stéphane just concedes.
What a play. And Micchelle, even though they had no cards remaining in hand, just the 2 from the prizes that they took, that's something normally you can try to capitalize on as a really good player. But Stéphane said, I'm just too far behind. Your board position is so much better. You've got the Archeops that can just pull those energies out of the deck. It doesn't matter if you have any cards in your hand. I'm going to scoop this up. We're going to Game 3 here on the winning end at the Latin America International Championships.
Stéphane knows what's up. He's obviously tested his matchup a lot. He knows you know how strong an advantage it is if your opponent can do exactly what Micchelle did just then. So Stéphane recognizing that, thinking, no, you know what? I'm going to have plenty of time for Game 3 for me to go first and maybe do the same thing to my opponent. I would just want to concede this game now.
Yep, definitely a heads-up decision. There is going to be plenty of time for a Game 3. These decks definitely do go pretty quickly just in general, so not something we would expect to see a tie from all too often this mirror match. So we'll see exactly. I think there's like probably 25 minutes or so left in this match, so plenty of time for both of these players.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. So I guess this is it. This is the nail biter of all nail biters. Game 3 of round 9 for the winning in for day 2. Will it be the up and coming, or will it be the old guard?
Yeah, absolutely. The two-time international champion going up against the regionals top 8 finisher, Micchelle, on the other side. Opening hands being drawn. Advantage definitely has to go to Stéphane in the early game here. Going first in this mirror match is so crucial, is so key. Let's see if he can find a way to get a Lugia down, get a couple Archeops in the discard pile. Okay,
so that opening hand for Stéphane doesn't look amazing.
I think that was Michelle's opening hand.
Oh, it was? Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
Well, it also doesn't look amazing. What is it with...
the double Lugia once again. Oh, my goodness. It didn't end up mattering. I mean, obviously, Micchelle won a very quick game 2 there, so it didn't affect them in that one. Fingers crossed maybe that will be the same here in this spot. We always hate to see the prize cards playing a huge factor in a win or a loss.
Indeed, we do. So now here we are kicking off with Game 3. Stéphane going to be going first. Yeah, starting with that amazing Yveltal, which is not really great, to be honest. You know, it's something you really want to attack with later on. Again, it has that 2 retreat cost, but you can also retreat it for, in air quotes, free with a Hiding Dark Energy.
And funny enough, Micchelle starting the Radiant Charizard. So both of these players starting their Tech 1 prize Pokemon, attackers that they really want to utilize later or in the mid-game at least, starting with them less than ideal.
Yeah, and especially even less so for Micchelle, of course, because Radiant Charizard has a retreat cost of 3. That is very, very awkward to work with for retreating.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. Charizard's got wings. It should just be able to float back to the bench, right?
Yeah, I think so, right?
But 3 retreat slows him down. He's going to be stuck up here in the active spot. Could start attacking with it really quickly, though. Combustion Blast can be powered up super fast thanks to that Primal Turbo ability in combination with Double Turbo energies, so that's something we should definitely keep our eye on. I do also think Micchelle is playing a 1 copy of Twin Energy, so that's another way to just get an additional energy. This is a card that I think a lot of players put in their initial Lugia lists, but kind of has gotten cut in the more recent builds.
Yeah, because I think the idea being that, you know, most of the time the main thing you want to attach is any kind of like Twin or Double Turbo to is a Yveltal, in which case you may as well make it the Double Turbo so you have more flexibility with it, and the Twin not working with the Lugia. But, you know, in this instance, maybe it actually might help out.
Yeah, the only reason really for it is the Radiant Charizard, so that on the turn where your opponent goes to 4 prizes remaining, you can go Archeops, put the Twin and the Heat Fire or an Aurora on it, and throw down the Choice Belt to do 280. Yeah,
which is obviously pretty solid attack to do that early on in terms of the prizing, where normally you can only do that when you have, you know, your opponent has 2 prizes left.
So a pretty decent turn from Stéphane going first. There's an Archeops down in the discard pile, Lugia with an energy, Yveltal on the active, not the best. Now on to Micchelle. Does discard an Archeops, I believe, there, so that's not bad. And right away, Lugia V being brought to the forefront of the deck.
Yeah, so got to be feeling pretty good about that. So trying to do it as good a counter setup as possible. Going to want to get 2 down, of course. We don't want to see, well, maybe your Stéphane was there, but if you're Micchelle, you don't want to have happen to you what you did to Stéphane in the last game.
Absolutely, and it is pretty tough. We saw Micchelle kind of start this turn actually asking how many cards were in Stéphane's hands. It's just 2. Only 2 cards in hand, and that is a really tough combo of cards to have in order to lead to a Boss's Orders or Serena KO on a Lugia V next turn. It is entirely possible, though.
It is, and I think that's the fear, right? You know,
right.
Wait, it could happen still.
And so, yeah, Micchelle has an interesting choice. There's a Marnie in hand, but do you play it? And it looks like the choice will be no.
Yeah, instead going for that Serena, just wanting to get at least 1 Archeops guaranteed in discard pile, and then discarding a Marnie and maybe something else.
Debating discarding that amazing rare Yveltal. It's such a good option, especially in this matchup going second, so that you can have a 1 prize attacker that can do something for you. But it's just the benefit of, do you want to draw that extra card? And They chose not to, and there was no extra Lugia found off of just the 3 cards drawn from Serena.
Oh dear, so now the opening is there. Does Stéphane do to Micchelle what Micchelle did to Stéphane last game? It is well within the realms of possibility, and I'm sure that Micchelle is thinking that right now and just maybe sort of crossing his fingers a little bit as he does just announce pass.
Draw for turn from Stéphane. Looks like Serena is in the hand, and an Ultra Ball, or a Quick Ball, excuse me, was drawn for turn, so we could see Quick Ball ditch the Radiant Charizard and go grab Crobat.
I think that surely you got to go for it, right? There, you know for a fact that if you go for this and you pull it off, you basically win. It is maybe like, I don't even know if you call it like slightly greedy because it is such a game-winning move. It does seem worthwhile, but Stéphane is umming and ahhing about it a little bit.
I mean, Stéphane already has the 2 Archeops down. The only real thing he's missing from this piece would be an energy to retreat the active Yveltal and also a Lugia V-Star. Is choosing not to go this route. Wants to value hanging onto the Radiant Charizard, maybe recognizing that this is a play I could go for. It might just be a little too greedy. You're still pretty reasonably far ahead in this spot.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly it, right? If you're in a situation where you've gone first in the matchup and you're going to get the first Lugia out, maybe you think to yourself, this is enough for me to win regardless.
Let me tell you something that's going to help this make a lot more sense. Stéphane does not play Crobat.
Well then, okay.
So that makes this play make so much more sense. Yep, we're not going for that. Stéphane's actually choosing to play 2 Lumineon, and this is actually something I heard some of the French players talking about, just the double fish being the way to go in this deck.
I mean, we've talked, I think, already a few times over the course of today about how Lumineon V, especially in Lugia most of all, it's very, very strong, not just for the ability to set out supporters, but the fact that it's actually a viable attacker as well.
Honestly, it may be one of Stéphane's best attackers this turn, because it can one-hit KO the Radiant Charizard and send itself back to the deck.
Oh, absolutely, because it hits the Radiant Charizard for weakness.
Yes, yep.
That is absolutely what he's going to be going for then.
Yes, could be a great play. Let's see if Stéphane's able to find that V-Star Evolution Incense Ultra Ball. Plenty of ways to make it happen. Is there an energy in hand to retreat the active? Yep, sure enough, I see one there.
I mean, you wouldn't necessarily need it, right? You can just Primal Turbo twice, once to the Yveltal, and then once again to
the
sure,
yeah,
Lumineon.
You can put a double turbo on the Lumineon, of course.
Yeah, well, as long as he has enough double turbo energies to pull it off. But I mean,
that would be the question.
But he does have the one in hand, so I think it shouldn't matter regardless. But yeah, there it is. Lugia V-Star. There goes the V-Star marker flipped over. Summoning Star for the double Archeops, pretty ideal. I mean, and yeah, Stéphane's got to be feeling pretty happy about his position.
Now, the question is, Lumineon does require you to shuffle in. It's not optional like many of these cards these days are. It is a required shuffle in effect. What does Stéphane promote here into a potential Lugia KO on Michelle's side?
It's a very, very interesting choice. I think it's got to be, you don't want to bring up an Archeops because you really don't want one of those to be like KO'd and cut off your energy acceleration. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be either the Radiant Zard or the Lugia V-Star.
Not the Yveltal ever?
That's, I guess the Yveltal could be a good call as well, but then, it's a bit annoying because you have to retreat it again afterwards, so it's a little bit more awkward. But then also it's the same true with the Radiant Zard, so yeah, actually, not really sure is my ultimate answer.
And we see Stéphane actually loading up the Hiding Darkness energy on the active, which will give free retreat to this Yveltal. Aurora energy and double turbo coming down to Lumineon. I think we're going to see that Aqua return, shuffling this Pokemon back into the deck and one-hit KOing this Radiant Charizard.
And this is really clever because now this means that you get 2 energy on the Yveltal and you retreat it without having to discard anything. So it's a way of still getting that retreat while still preserving your resources and accelerating your Yveltal to the point where you only need one more Primal Turbo on it later to actually power it up and use it.
And I don't even think Stéphane has even attached for turn, so we'll see the V-Guard energy come down onto the Lugia, really playing around any potential play that Micchelle could have to kind of punish this decision.
So now it's obvious. Now you just turn up the Lugia V-Star because it has the V-Guard energy and that can absolutely tank for days.
Well, do you, though? Because it could tank, but it also could get KO'd. So I think Stéphane is going to send up that Radiant Charizard, as we do see. Remember, we saw Micchelle almost get that KO on the Lugia V-Star through the V-Guard energy.
That is true. Although, you still would need a lot, though, right? That's the thing. And
you definitely would. But, now Micchelle, if they want to KO the Lugia, is forced to play Boss's Orders or Serena for turn, whereas if the Lugia was active, you could play Research for turn and really dig for it.
That is very true, and we do see that the Minion being benched, actually, maybe Micchelle looking to grab that Marnie just to really put a dampener on Stéphane's hand.
And Stéphane does choose to send up the Radiant Charizard. I agree with this. Definitely the best decision here. And Marnie will be the choice of card for Micchelle.
Yeah, just really, Stéphane does have a little bit too big of a hand to work with. Maybe Micchelle wanted to preserve the 2 cards that are left over in his hand, and that's going to be the decision there.
Yep, shuffling the deck. Now we'll see most likely this be played not before a Choice Belt comes down, though.
Oh, and actually that kind of speaks to what you were saying, right, in terms of if the choice belt is there, then actually all that's needed is a Lugia V-Star, and actually we could have actually then seen the KO on the V-Star, even with the V-Guard energy on it.
5 cards now for Micchelle. Is there the Lugia V-Star or a way to get it? It does indeed seem like we have found the Evolution Incense. Seems like Summoning Star Part 2 is coming up very shortly.
Yep, that was absolutely key. So now we're going to be able to get out the V-Star, use that Summoning Star, as you said, and I do believe Micchelle does have 2 Archeops in discard pile, so he's going to be able to get the ideal setup going for himself as well, and now it's going to be this back and forth slugfest as we've seen so many Lugia mirrors turn into.
And both players now will have taken 1 prize after this turn, so we're kind of on even footing a little bit. It most likely will be both players having to KO 3 2-prizers, but there is potential for Boss's Orders to come in the late game.
Yeah, there is. Now, one thing I'd be very interested to see, does Stéphane actually play any way to get that Radiant Charizard back?
Yeah, that is definitely something worth checking. Most players are not playing any sort of recovery cards, and it doesn't look like Stéphane is either. Some players do play a way to attack with the Charizard again. I've seen the Ditto from Pokemon Go pop up in some people's lists here and there because it can also get boosted damage from the powerful colorless energy. So that's something I've seen be an option, but not something we've seen this weekend and not something we're seeing here in Stéphane's list.
No, it is very interesting because it's. I think it was something that was debated over the course of a lot of people testing, thinking I played as one of attackers. What if one gets KO'd early and then I need it later? So then, sure, I played the Ordinary Rod, but maybe there's just more important things to include instead.
And here we see Micchelle actually, kind of recognizing the play that Stéphane went for, saying, hey, anything you can do, I can make it happen too. And exactly what we're going to see is the energies going onto the active and the 2 energies powered up onto the benched Lumineon. This signifies to me we're likely going to be seeing that double turbo retreating into Lumineon, Aqua Return, dealing 200 damage to the Water Weak Radiant Charizard. And now Micchelle will be the one sending up a 1-prizer most likely, and I think it has to be the Amazing Rare Eviltal, which definitely is not ideal. Maybe you risk it and send up the Lugia, but that is risky. It certainly is.
Yeah, but maybe that's a risk you just have to take, right? It is also interesting as well to see the plays kind of like mirroring each other in both the instances. Radiant Charizard get killed by Lumineon, and then same thing happening, and now both players are setting up the Yveltal as well.
Stéphane, of course, just able to freely send this up. That Hiding Darkness energy acting as such a solid pivot for this card in this spot.
Yeah, and but now, of course, the decision comes, what does Stéphane actually decide to do here in terms of knockout potential? Maybe it might be worth just powering up the Yveltal and using the Quick Ball to grab a Lumineon, grab a Serena, and KO the Lugia V-Star, for example.
Yeah, if there's a decent 1-prizer to attack with here, that would be good. Now, the Radiant Charizard has already hit the discard pile, so the only real option would be to attack with Archeops itself, which is kind of awkward because you take it out of play. But with a couple energy already on the Yveltal, do you really mind that too much?
Maybe not necessarily, no. I think as long as you can get all your energy acceleration that you need to done, then maybe you can sacrifice one of the Archeopses and that'll be okay. But there's also the potential to... Oh, yeah, there's the V-Guard energy, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe it might actually be more worth it to just charge up this Yveltal and use some kind of gusting card to bring up and KO.
I do think we see the Quick Ball here in Stéphane's hand, which to me means we could grab back out that Lumineon. Of course, there's 2 copies in this deck. One did just get shuffled back in, though. Grabbing out that Lumineon and trying to chase after this Lugia V-Star on the bench and go for that amazing destruction attack on this turn to take 2 prizes.
Yeah, that's going to work out pretty ideally for Stéphane, and I think that's going to for sure be the best path for him to take, because not only does it keep up in tempo, but it also takes Michelle's biggest attacking threat currently off the board.
And already pulling some energies to the front that Stéphane knows that will be needed. Ooh, is it actually going to be the research here, though? Must just not have a strong enough hand to go for a Boss's Orders this turn.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe you're thinking it might be best to just attack with Lugia into the Yveltal and sort of take that option for Micchelle.
And can also even just attack with the Lumineon again, right? Would have to put 3 energies on it. Would not be able to put a double turbo like we saw previously. That did reduce the damage to 100. But now if you just put other types of energies on it that are not double turbo energy, it actually works out just fine.
Could it well be that Lumineon is actually just like the best attacker in the mirror?
I don't know about that, but in these situations, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely it's a super situational type of thing, but in the right spot, it is very, very solid.
I think making a good case for itself here, we can certainly say. So yeah, there's need to commit one more energy, as mentioned. Stéphane going to put down that Dunsparce as well. Again, just any insurance against any lightning weakness shenanigans, and then just going to go for that Professor's Research.
Yeah, you can afford the bench spot here. It's not too big of a deal. You're going to clear up a spot as well once this Lumineon goes back into the deck. And it's also the thing you can probably best send up after you shuffle in with the Aqua Return.
Yeah, because, although we're not really seeing any proper, sort of lightning attackers, I think, yet from Micchelle.
No,
In fact, do we even see any in the list?
No, not in this list. There's no Amazing Raikou or anything like that.
Right, okay, so maybe Stéphane recognizing that and, just at this point putting down the Dunsparce just as something to send up.
And it's almost the type of thing that even if your opponent plays those cards, you're at a point where if you send up the Dunsparce and they do KO it, you're far enough ahead where you don't even care about the weakness, potentially.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's definitely going to be a factor in as well. And, of course, interestingly enough, actually going to preempt that being able to retreat next turn by putting a Capture Energy on the Dunsparce already.
Yep. Prep that with the Primal Turbo. Of course, did attach from hand with the Capture Energy. Now, there is also the Lost Vacuum in hand Stéphane was considering, but looks like we'll hold off for now. Thought about maybe getting rid of the Choice Belt, but it will just be the Aqua Return. Taking a prize card, going down to just 4 remaining here in this win and in-game.
Yeah, so now sort of evening back out, of course, you're not having to worry as much about having to take, 3 2-price knockouts, able to instead just go for the, 2 more 2-price knockouts instead. And so setting up that Dunsparce, they're just ready to retreat for next turn. And even if it gets KO'd, like I said, it really doesn't matter at this point. Stéphane is still ahead in the tempo of this overall game.
Micchelle is able to play this hand all the way out and go for the Crobat, drawing 6 fresh cards here.
So pretty good making a dark asset for the full amount. So always a good feeling. So.
It always feels, absolutely, definitely feels great to just play it all the way down and fill that hand up. Oh, I think Micchelle drew a bunch of energy cards. I think 4 energy in this hand, just 3 actually, but still, it's more than you would like to see.
These are the situations that happen sometimes. We've talked about it before. It's happened to multiple Lugia players over the course of this day. You play 16 energy, sometimes you're just going to draw that many with a draw card.
And I don't think Micchelle chose to use the Primal Turbo before going for the Dark Asset, and so that could be a sequencing decision that maybe came back to bite them in this spot. If you use the Primal Turbo first, then you're less likely to draw into those energies, right?
Yeah, and that's an important part, the factor that goes into it as well when you're coming into decision making. Although at the very least, Marnie can bail out Micchelle here a bit. Oh.
Yeah, I think Judge is just making sure Supporter has not been played yet, but it has not. Oh, wanting to make sure that Micchelle shuffles the deck before the hand gets shuffled and put on the bottom. Definitely heads up. Great catch there from the Judge. Yeah,
it's again very, very important to make sure that or the game state does not get broken. We don't want to see any of that happening, of course. It is sometimes inevitable, but if you can avoid it, it's always best to.
Yeah. So both these players will draw new hands. Micchelle getting 5. Stéphane limited to just 4. But honestly, Lugia is one of these decks that you kind of get to a point where you don't really care about drawing more cards. You've got 2 Archeops in play, and Stéphane's got plenty of attackers available. Kind of the only thing you want to see is Boss's Orders or Serena from here on out. And sometimes you don't even necessarily need that.
No, not at all. And as another Primal Turbo now gets fired off. Now, I think the one thing I'm wondering looking at this game state currently is that obviously there's going to be a KO here from Michelle's side, and that's going to even things up again. How does Micchelle get the tempo back in his favor so that he can sort of take the prize lead, whereas currently he's kind of trading blow for blow?
Yeah, at this point it's going to have to be attacking with maybe an Archeops at some point into the Eviltal, I guess, is going to be the option, as we do see an energy come down onto one of those Pokemon. Maybe even attacking with the Archeops this turn, though that would require you to retreat, I think, too many energies off this active Lugia. I don't think you can afford to do it right now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly going to be the problem. I think right now you kind of have to just accept that you're taking the KO on this Dunsparce, and then that'll even things up, but then you kind of have to decide how you want to take it from there.
I also think from Micchelle, you're hoping here that the Marnie was enough to slow Stéphane down, that maybe there's a chance Stéphane can't find the pieces to find a one-hit knockout on this active Lugia. But I guess with Amazing Rare Eviltal on the bench, that's kind of just not going to happen.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's the problem, of course. Michelle's one is gone, but Stéphane's one is not, so there's that one-hit knockout attacking threat kind of always there unless Micchelle can find some way to get rid of it.
We actually will see the retreat. Okay, so it is going to be the Archeops attack this turn. I think this maybe is what Micchelle just has to do to have a chance here.
Yes, we do see one price taken, but Ivanoff gets sent up, and now maybe this is the turn.
And Stéphane does have the Serena in hand.
Yes.
And this is where the game is going to be really difficult and really an uphill climb for Micchelle, because Stéphane is now attacking with a 1-prizer. You've got 4 prizes remaining, but your opponent is a single prizer active. You want to boss around it, maybe try to take out a 2-prize Pokemon on the bench. But Stéphane actually only has one 2-prize Pokemon there on the bench.
Yes, exactly. So I think the patience here for Stéphane really paying off as he's really thought about his prize map through right from the beginning. And now that Yveltal is fully charged up, Primal Turbo coming in one more time just to get that Lugia charged up as well. And after that, yeah, we're just going to see the Serena take a knockout. And then Stéphane is just one more gust away from winning this game.
And Stéphane will just load these energies up, not going to worry about keeping them in the deck for the future to wait to see what his opponent does, because if the opponent did have the perfect hand of KO the benched Lugia, then your Yveltal's not being KO'd. So Stéphane is really trying to set up the checkmate board state scenario here.
Yeah. The only worry would be potentially if Micchelle was actually playing Amazing Raikou and surprised out of nowhere, could maybe get a double knockout. Maybe that would be the only thing. But I think Stéphane's worked out that Micchelle is not playing it at this point.
Yeah, it would be like a boss KO on an Archeops plus knockout the Yveltal on the bench potentially would be the way to do that. But we know Micchelle doesn't have access to it. Micchelle knows that they don't have access to it. And they're staring down an amazing rare Yveltal ready to KO anything in the entire format, and certainly in Michelle's deck. What is the play? What is the option? There is a path to the peak. I don't think it's going to do much good at this point.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely too little too late for the path to the peak. Would have been useful earlier on, but at this point, it's really nothing doing.
Looks like the Primal Turbo will throw a powerful colorless energy onto the Lugia. Just going to play things out here, see if there's any path back into this, but 4 prizes to 2. It is going to be looking tough. I mean, at least the Archeops here can take the knockout on the active Yveltal. You're forcing Stéphane to have the gusting card.
That's true, and actually, I'm going to correct myself here slightly. Pass to the peak could be very relevant in the sense that it would stop Stéphane from being able to use the Minion to search for a boss or Serena for the game, actually.
Yeah, it absolutely could be.
Yeah. So that's definitely a consideration. I think if Micchelle can play the path, then he absolutely should, just to prevent that. And yeah, just getting the KO with Speedwing here is going to sort of help him out a little bit as long as this Yveltal does go down, which of course it will.
We're just seeing this Lugia get loaded up with those powerful colorless energy. It's the most powerful Lugia in the game right now. All 4 powerful colorless energy there, ready to start swinging.
Yeah, you got to love it. All 4 committed to just the one Lugia there. But it's not going to be what's attacking this turn. It's going to be that Archeops with the Speedwing. But yeah, playing another pass to the peak, very, very important. So there it is, Speedwing for the knockout. 1 prize for Micchelle. Now, does Stéphane have the boss or Serena to close out this game?
Needs either of those 2 cards to close it out. Did not draw for turn. Is it there in the hand? It surely
there it is.
Boss's Orders brings up either of those 2 prize Pokemon, and Stéphane Ivanoff will make day 2 here at LAIC.
Once again, keeping up with the day 2 streak. Even if you had to do it the hard way this time, not able to, take the 6 wins and then tied. You're having to do it at the winning end on the last round, but able to do it. So huge congratulations to Stéphane for locking your position in day 2.
Yes, absolutely. One of the game's best. Happy to see him in day 2. Of course, a great and excellently played game in that match as well. Congratulations as well to Micchelle. Unfortunately, just not quite enough going there in order to make it into day 2. 5-3-1, though, is still a solid record and may be enough for some championship points, I believe, with how many players are at this event.
Oh, you got to think so, right? Considering we had, what was it, almost 1,000, I think, people in Masters. So I think it was 900 and something in the end. So yeah, definitely enough for points, you would have thought.
And those points are very crucial for these players who are trying to get their Worlds invite. Everyone has their eyes on Yokohama, Japan at the end of the season. So Micchelle can definitely still come away proud of that accomplishment. Coming away with points is at minimum what you want to do at this weekend.
Yeah, just of course that road to that road to Yokohama, getting your invite, whether it's a day 1 or day 2 invite, you got to of course get enough points to lock up your spot to be able to compete in the tournament.
So congratulations to Stéphane, a 2-time international champion. Definitely hyped up, feeling great about this spot, and I'm sure he's excited to be able to play and compete for another title here.
Yes, and again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the game, perhaps compete for a title at the internationals where he hasn't quite been able to go as far as he has been at the North American internationals, for example.
Yes, I would love to see him in top 8. Now, it is going to be an uphill climb.
Oh, very much so.
Coming into day 2 with a 6-2-1 record is tough. You're really looking at probably needing to go 5-0-1 on the 6-round day in order to make it into cut. And sometimes that's not even enough. We've seen players go 5-0-1 and then bubble out of cut. So it's a long road ahead. We'll see what Stéphane has. I mean, if there's any player who can make it happen, he's certainly one of them.
Literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, if anyone could do it, it's absolutely him.
Absolutely. So we'll see if we can get some updates on some of these other rounds. And we're definitely going to be talking to Stéphane here shortly, so don't go anywhere. I'm sure many players are interested in hearing what Stéphane has to say about that match and about the decision to play Lugia for the tournament this weekend.
Yeah, this is a story I got to tell. So at one point when we were just sort of at the hotel lobby downstairs yesterday, I was walking out of the elevator and I saw Stéphane just sort of like lying down on one of the sofas. It was like looking as if he was in a deep thought around everything. And I just like walked up to him and said, like, yo, what's on your mind? And he just said, Lugia. Like he was just and he was just thinking through so many things, and we had a sort of a bit of a chat, and he was talking about something which actually we were to follow up from a conversation that we'd had previously when we were together at Warsaw, and he was saying that he just really didn't know how to approach this tournament in terms of like, wanting to play something other than Lugia, but kind of feeling like he has to play Lugia, and kind of sort of how to come to terms with that. And I guess he managed to do it in good enough way to still make day 2.
Yep, still made day 2, and I'm excited to hear what Stéphane has to say. We've got an interview lined up with the man himself down on the stage. Take it away.
I'm here with Stéphane Ivanoff, our winner here in round number 9, and what a way to do it with an incredible Lugia mirror match. How did that feel?
Honestly, very good. I'm very relieved because I'm tired, and playing Lugia all day. The deck who goes first matters a lot, especially in the mirror match. So I'm really relieved to finally make it to day 2 again at an IC.
Yeah, of course. You're famous for the North American International Championships and how well you've done there. We're seeing you doing so well here now at the Latin American International Championships. Is that something you were expecting coming into this? Did you have high hopes?
I don't know. Like, I felt like the deck was good. Like, I felt I had a very good deck, but also felt like things could go really very way because there's a lot of randomness especially in the Lugia mirror match. So I was like, okay, hopefully I can just have a good deck, so I'll just play well, and I should be able to make day 2. I know that some people with a very similar deck list to mine have done very well, so I think overall the deck is good. And mostly I'm very relieved because LAIC is not. First of all, the LAIC I didn't do that well in the past. I didn't make top 32 last time, but before that I missed day 2. And also I didn't make day 2 at EUIC last year, and then I missed NAIC due to COVID and stuff. So basically I'm happy to be back in day 2.
Yeah, we of course love to have you here, of course gracing the main stage here and putting on quite a performance. We're excited to see you in day 2. What's going to be what takes you over the edge here and gets you potentially into the top 8 with this Lugia deck?
Honestly, winning the coin flips and just hoping that consistency means that I will do better than other opponents. That's just what I can hope for.
There you go. Do you have anybody that you like to thank as getting to this spot? Anyone you traveled with, perhaps, or anything like that?
Yeah, shout out to the French community, to the friends who came here with me for the tournament. We're having a very good time. All the testing group, because there's a lot of people that I've tested directly or indirectly with. So thank you everyone for helping make the deck what it is, and thank you to the people watching at home. I know it's getting pretty late here in France, but I know that some of you are watching, so merci beaucoup.
There you go. Oh, congratulations once more. It's great to have you here. And that is going to be it for the rounds here in day number 1. Let's go ahead and throw it back to the